This podcast brought to you by Digital Diamond Entertainment.
All right, Vex, run the intro.
So when am I getting paid for this?
Kind of like a podcast, sort of, but not really. We're podcast-ish.
What's this ish? What do you mean ish?
Some material may be inappropriate for children under 13.
Hey, welcome back to the Podcast-ish podcast, where every week we give you the facts, fiction, and twisted opinions on aspects of human behavior. We believe words are important and the facts don't give a fuck about your feelings. So sit back and strap in, because this week the set goes in on supervised injection sites, otherwise known as a lot of things. I'm your host, Pernell Ramlow, alongside the one and only John Vex, and this is Will Hayes.
Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Lex for all your stay fresh needs. Lex has you covered. If you're looking for Bape, Supreme, the exclusive 26 Dover collection, and those hard to find Jordans or Yeezys, you need to check out Lex. That's Lex on 17th Avenue Southeast and Chinook Mall across from Urban Outfitters. Don't sleep.
That's right, don't sleep. And you know what I realized? We have to start paying Will Hayes because Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. apparently he's really, really tired.
Man, Saturday mornings at 9 p.m. didn't exist for me for the long. Why are we here at 9 p.m.?
It's not 9 p.m.
At 9 a.m.
It's 9 a.m.
Why are we here at 9 a.m.? You see, that's how tired I am.
As you heard in the intro, we are going in on safe injection sites. A bunch of things happening with this one. We did a show last week. You guys heard the vaccines one. It's getting a lot of traction for some reason. It wasn't even really controversial. I think we just kind of had our we just did the history, really, and we did.
And we talked about things that some people wouldn't know about. But
yeah, it was. It's just strange how much traction it's gotten. I think this one's going to get a little bit as well. This one is hit hard right now in Calgary and Alberta and pretty much all across Canada just because of what has been happening with the sites or near the sites or this and that. So we're going to get a lot of things today. But let's start with the Wikipedia, because that's kind of the only definition I found was a Wikipedia site. So supervised injection sites, also known as supervised injection facilities, safe injection sites, fixed rooms, safer injection facilities, drug consumption facilities, medically supervised injection centers, are legally sanctioned, medically supervised facilities designed to provide a hygienic and stress-free environment in which individuals are able to consume illicit recreational drugs intravenously and reduce nuisance from public drug use. I'm going to read it. Yeah. They're also part of the harm reduction approach towards drug problems. The facility provides sterile injection equipment, information about drugs and basic health care, treatment referrals, and access to medical staff. Some other counseling, hygienic, and other services of use to itinerant and impoverished individuals. Jeez, I can't read. Many programs prohibit the sale or purchase of recreational drugs. Many require ID cards. Some restrict access to local residents and apply other admission criteria, such as only allowing injection drug users. But generally in Europe, they do not exclude addicts who consume by other means. Where the fuck do you guys want to start?
how stupid that idea is, but this,
it's only a stupid idea if there is a better one in comparison.
Well,
and we can't say a better one in comparison would be.
I completely disagree.
Yeah,
I completely.
I don't know where I fall with that either.
Here's why I completely disagree. This whole thing reminds me of the descriptions you were going through there, right? Reminds me of what pedophiles are now doing in order to change the public mindset. Hold on, don't say anything.
We're going that deep, that quick?
Yeah, hold on, don't say anything.
Fuck.
The reason I say this is everything that they're saying there are weasel words. Every description is a weasel word, right?
Right.
So, and the reason I brought up pedophiles is pedophiles have now asked, requested, or demanded that they are referred to now as minor attracted people.
Right, but
not kid screwers, but minor attracted people. Hold on. This is exactly what's going on here. Safe injection site. No, you're injecting poison into your body. There is no safety about it, regardless.
We need to take that out of the whole conversation altogether. We need to take We need to take away the conversation of what they're doing to themselves. Regardless of what they're doing to themselves, that conversation will go on forever. That's not even a part of it's not even why they call it safe injection sites. Except for it's a little bit safer for them sitting in a fucking crack shack and doing it or whatever. The whole conversation is it safer for them to be in this place, and is it safer for the community to have these safe injection sites than them to be in the playgrounds injecting it? And also with the pedophile thing, I understand with the words, but that's a
It's called an analogy.
That's a vicious analogy and shit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
There's more than one person involved, and they don't have safe pedophilia sites. Like there's more than one person involved with that shit. But it's not. Okay, so if pedophiles are saying they want to be recognized as this, I don't know one crackhead or heroin addict says, well, if we had a better place to, I'm just sober, declined. I mean, if we had a better place I just want to sit look in the mirror and inject this crack. A crackhead will sit beside a fire hydrant on a Tuesday in July when it's 28 degrees outside, inject himself with some crack, and then conduct an orchestra on the side of East Hastings. He doesn't care where he's getting high. So there wasn't pedophile advocates that were saying, hey, wait a second, but these are advocates, you know what I'm saying? There's not saying like, hey, they want to touch children, let's just get them in a safe place and call them minor attractives. No, there's no...
No, my whole point is
I know the analogy, right?
That,
but my thing is, like, if we look at... It may be a dumb idea, but it's one of those ideas where it's better than the alternative. And just because it's better than the alternative doesn't mean it's a great idea, right? Yeah. And the alternative is having them in the streets, or the alternative is having these I know in Vancouver with the safe injection sites and shit like that, East Hastings is cleaned up a little bit. Not too many overdoses, this, that, and the third, but it's still one of those things where like we're going through in Calgary. And I feel Calgary did our safe injection site in that one specific location, because that's not the only one, but the one specific location where the crime went up, and that was a horrible way that they did it. It's too small. They're rejecting people. And turning people away. If someone wants to go somewhere and get high and they say, no, can't come in here, well, he's like, oh, there's a swing set over there.
Before you go on, P, I just wanted to reiterate and just very, very quickly clarify what I mean and the point I'm getting at here. All the listeners should be very, very wary of weasel words, regardless of where you sit on the issue.
Why don't you describe weasel words?
A weasel word is something designed to change your mind through a subtle way of describing something, or a lesser extreme way of describing something, right? So, for example, rather than saying retard, you'll say mentally disabled, right? Now, in some cases, that's fine, right? But in other cases, when you're looking at something that's legitimately incorrect human behavior, call a spade, please. Absolutely, call a spade a spade.
What would you call these places then?
I don't know, but I wouldn't. It's beside the point of what I would call it, but you're basically just making a place for junkies.
You could call it drug abuse centers.
You could call it drug abuse centers, yeah. So, but let's look at safe injection sites. Now, if we're not looking at the literal terms of saying, well, you can't safely inject yourself. Safe injection sites. Are you going to get robbed in these sites?
Yeah, but again, that's beside the point.
It's not beside the point.
It is absolutely, and I'll tell you why.
Sites are safer for them to inject.
Well, okay, safer, but it's not safe. Okay. It is not safe. By definition, it's not safe.
Okay, well, I mean, if we want, I
just want to pull it back here. So let's say the alternative to this is not having the safe injection sites, right? Is it really the better option?
Exactly. What you're touching on there is a false dichotomy, right? I'm not saying you're making it.
Right. But. I want to address that real quick. Is it a better option to have these sites available to drug abusers, drug users, than have them doing it in their wherever they're going to do it elsewise or otherwise? Is it safer? Is it a better option?
It depends. If you put a safe injection site in the middle of Brentwood, California, no. If you put a safe injection site in East Hastings, yes. Most definitely.
Can you explain why?
Brentwood, California does not have a problem with junkies getting high in the streets, with people stepping on needles, with junkies getting high and committing crimes or run down houses and things like that. East Hastings had a huge problem with that. People getting high in the streets, people getting high in the alleys. The cops, not enough cops, overworked, people overdosing and dying in the streets. That's like a huge thing, regardless of anything. I mean, at the end of the day, it's you're doing this to yourself, but anything that brings you to be dead in the street.
Okay.
And then as you put up these safe injection sites, the overdoses do go down. The time, if someone does overdose, the time for any type of medical attention is greatly increased, and it cleans up the streets a little bit. So yeah, so it depends. Like it's a better option.
I don't know about that, because if you look at San Francisco right now, it's actually gotten a lot worse.
I think there's literal human feces in the street.
There's literal
right?
shit in the street, like human shit, right? Because of the mindset of, well, we need to enable these people to do this stuff safely, right? So they've given out needles, they've blah 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 done the whole nine, right? And right now, they actually have to hire people at 6 figures a year to go and clean up human shit in the street.
But so they're giving them needles and letting them shoot up in the street.
I don't know where they're letting them shoot up.
See, that's the whole
Doesn't
thing.
this-
Like, we can look at San Francisco, but is that a safe injection site, or is that just people?
I think they want to turn it
supplying
into a safe
needles?
injection city.
So yeah, exactly. So that's different. There's like, it's at the end of the day, it's like one of those things where it's like, is it a better option to go 100 or 50 kilometers an hour? Well, it all depends on the road you're on.
Okay, I just want to bring this back. Like how I think what this kind of boils down to, for me anyway, is do we want to support this type of behavior? Especially since they're advocating intravenous drug use, right?
They're not advocating intravenous drug use.
Well, just wait.
They're not
okay.
shunning it. Just because you're
okay.
not shunning it doesn't mean you're advocating for
Okay,
it.
so by default,
No, there's not by default. There's levels to that. We're not black and white people. We're humans capable of complex thought.
they're literally setting up a building for people to come have safe injections, right? So
Right.
they're advocating for those people to use that facility instead of being outdoors,
They're
right?
giving them the option to do it. They're not advocating. There's no advertisements for it. They're not out there with pom-poms and everything.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? They're not
Well,
advocating
regardless,
for it.
this is on a little tangent from what I was going. I'm saying if we're going to condone this behavior by setting up these places for people to do this, specifically for intravenous drug use, is this something that we want to support in our communities? I understand the war on drugs completely is something that doesn't work. I understand. I think we have to look at alternative ways, right? Alternative ways to me would be, maybe not legalize the drugs, decriminalize them somehow, or have like I don't even know where to go from this. I need some help with this. I don't know where we can go from this. Is what I'm saying.
Well, in my opinion, and this is my humble opinion, everything in this whole safe injection site mentality stems from two things. Number one, a lot of people's belief that we can achieve utopia. We cannot achieve utopia because they're not taking into account the fact that human beings, in my opinion, are inherently selfish and will inherently gravitate towards things that will make them feel good rather than things that are good for them. Right? And there seems to be a divide with that. Secondly, the whole safe injection site also stems from the mentality of, and maybe three, so I'll go into the second thing here, stems from the mentality of reducing consequences for your poor judgment, right? So nobody wants to face the consequences of making a bad decision. So therefore we go, okay, cool, let's put these sites up. You know what, sometimes, and a lot of parents could probably relate to this, sometimes you got to let your 2-year-old touch the boiling kettle so that he or she knows, ow, that's hot, don't touch. Right? Hold on. Third thing. It also stems from an increasing drug culture, right? Just in general. We have an increasing drug culture in general. So what they're trying to do now is, this is a subtle way, in my opinion, again, of normalizing drug use in general, right? We've seen what this did to China way back in the day when the British were ruling China, where they had opium sites, where you could go and smoke opium free and safe. It messed China up. But we refuse to learn from history.
But the thing with that is, those statements are true if safe injection sites would just come in, get high, and go about your business, which is not.
Mm-hmm.
If it was comparable to an opium den, we'd see advertisements for safe injection sites in our papers.
Mm-hmm.
We'd go to a safe injection site. There would be other things there.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be girls and there'd be topless girls in bikinis and music and shit like that. They're not opium safe. Like the opium thing was a party. It was advertised as a party. You're sitting in the tent. You got a couple concubines. You're smoking some opium. You're getting high. And you're telling your friends about it. It was like a whorehouse, like a bordello type thing, but with opium.
Yeah, they were extras, absolutely. So now here's the question. Are they actually trying to rehabilitate people who go to these safe injection sites?
100% yes.
Yeah? Okay.
When you go to a safe injection site, they have counselors there, they have pamphlets there, they have people willing to talk to you, not to force it on you, but asking if you want to talk. I know people personally that have been to safe injection sites or safe different types of things, or just gone there and talked. They didn't even go there and get high. They went there and got counseling. I know people that are clean because of safe injection sites.
Okay.
So there's a whole. It's not just go in, get high, and then leave.
Right,
Cher worked with counseling. She
Okay.
did a lot of drug counseling, and she did a lot of things with the opioid crisis and the overdose. The reason why the safe injection sites were pushed and forced is because a lot of people were getting drugs that were laced with fentanyl, and then we had that fentanyl crisis, and they said we can't have people dying in the streets, and B, we need to have a facilitation. If they're going to get high, they're going to get high. How can we talk to these people that are getting high to see if we can make them safer? How can we talk to them and see if we can get them off? What are they going through in their life that makes them want to get high?
Right.
Yeah.
Again, I want to bring it back to the point that they said they specifically will not sell illicit drugs on site, right? So even if people are dying on fentanyl in the street, they're just going to be dying in the safe injection sites if they get the same product and bring it to the safe injection sites to use.
Right.
So
But if they go to the safe injection site and they're supervised and monitored and they have those kits there, then how are there more people dying in there? Because you're dying in the street with nobody, or you overdose there.
Let me finish my statement, John. What I was saying is that even if they do have the fentanyl laced there, they do have the treatment facility there, so people can actually watch over them, right? So that's one of the good things about safe injection sites. But I think you were conflating the from the counseling into the actually safe injection sites. I think there's two different sides to that, right? You know, if you're there to get counseling and not, say you walk in to do whatever, you're going to go walk in to do the drug, right? But then you see these counselors and whatever, you have a talk and this and that, right? And then you don't end up getting high. Okay, great. That's another good thing. However, I don't think people that are specifically going there to get high because it's a safe place are not going to go there for counseling. For the mindset to go to counseling is completely different than a mindset that wants to go get high.
So it's not mandatory if you go into these
No,
sites.
no,
to have
it's not.
counseling.
They
Okay.
ask you if you want to talk, but at
Right.
the end of the day, if you look at people that do heroin, that do liquid cocaine, you're going to get more people. Even if they're going there just to get high, you're getting more people that are willing to talk that aren't. Going into a safe injection site, you don't feel like going to a safe injection site, you don't feel like you're proud. You're being watched. You're sitting and looking in the mirror.
I disagree.
Okay, you could disagree. Do we have anybody here? Have you talked to anybody that's been there before? Have you talked to people that have been to safe injection sites and talked about them?
No, that's and I think that's the issue we're going to have throughout this whole topic and this whole episode, is because I think all three of us have a certain mindset about what is going on and how this can be kind of resolved and how we feel about it, right? Not having the personal experience to go of being in a safe injection site or seeing what actually happens there. All I can go off of is, what has been, the sides of the story I find on the internet, right? Opinions from other people and just things like that. And I don't think you've spoken to somebody. Maybe you have.
I have. I wouldn't ask you if you have. If I couldn't counteract with I have.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know how many people. If it's a one person study, then
it's not a study. It's a conversation. At the end of the day,
so
I'm not walking through doing a fucking study, asking a bunch of people And if you do, and if I do, and I'm just going around asking people, I'm doing a study. I'm not going to get the full answers that I need.
Yeah,
if I'm having a personal conversation with somebody I consider a friend, I'm going to get the real. I'm going to get nothing but the facts.
Okay.
Friday, nothing but the facts.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying you're looking at safe injection sites as we're just condoning people to do drugs.
I'm not looking at it like that.
You got to look at it from a different angle.
I'm not looking at it like that at all. My whole premise behind this is, how do we make it easier for people to get off intravenous drugs, right? To that, it goes to a mindset. It could go to mental disease. It could go to a bunch of different things that we have to address,
that's a whole different
right?
story. That's not even in for this podcast.
Right.
Safe
No, it
injection sites
absolutely
aren't for
is.
that.
It absolutely is. And well, you just told me it was.
No, I did not tell you it was. I told you
just told me that they go in there, some people they offer the counseling.
they
right?
offer the counseling, but the safe injection sites aren't there. If they were there, they would be called fucking counselor offices.
Okay, and that's why I went back to this. That's why I said you were conflating the two issues, right, about the counseling and the safe injection sites.
I was not conflating the two issues. I was clarifying that option is there. It's not just a place where you go in and get high and leave.
Right, and the only thing I was trying to say is that if we're going to give them the opportunity to have a safe injection site, I think we should focus more on the counseling and the mindset behind it and the reasoning these people are doing drugs to get behind it and have them get off drugs instead of allowing them to still do drugs. Is kind of where I'm coming from. I'm not saying
the goal of any of these sites should be towards counseling these people to get off.
Right,
of drugs.
and from what Will's saying, I think that there is that option to it. I just think it needs to be
It's not the mandatory.
It's not
part
the
of it.
mandatory, right? So and that's
yeah.
I think that's
have you
where
looked,
I'm coming from.
You have the computer in front of you. Have you looked up the Calgary safe injection sites?
Absolutely.
Okay. Have you read through their website?
Yes.
And what does it say?
It's,
What is their mandate?
their mandate is to offer, right? But you to offer the counseling, and that's
No,
that's
but I
what I'm
mean,
saying.
no. We can read verbatim. We could read verbatim the studies. We could read verbatim the definitions. Let's read verbatim the other side. Let's look at the other side. Let's have 2 points. Let's have two sides.
Okay, what exactly would you like to know?
Let's just carry on. I'm just gonna sip my coffee. Let's just carry.
Well,
on.
if you're not going to be specific about it, I can go on. I can
I
literally sit here
did.
and read this whole thing.
I asked you, and you said to offer. So I guess that's what it is. I asked you what their mandate is.
Your mandate on what though? Is what I'm saying.
On how they
I'm getting,
approach.
like, I'm
Okay.
just getting. I'm getting
Supervised
frustrated.
well,
I'm not
because
even-
you're being ridiculous right now. Supervised
Okay.
consumption service helps save lives and build safer communities. That's this. So this is off Alberta Health Services.ca, info page 15432. Supervised consumption services help save lives and build safer communities. As part of a provincial response to the opioid crisis, Alberta Health Services is supporting the introduction to supervised consumption services as part of a harm reduction approach.
Okay, but what does this? What? Okay, but this is. That's like me asking you, what's Crescent Heights? Why, when you go to Crescent Heights, what do they offer to the kids? What do they have on their website to offer to the kids? And you go into the Calgary Board of Education and tell me what Calgary schools do.
Yeah.
I'm saying go to the specific ones.
Yeah, that's-
If we go to it and say, okay, they say, oh, the Sunnyside Safe Injection Clinic, and if the first thing they say, we offer a safe place for da 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 da, and we also offer counseling, these services, those services, rehabilitation services. If you're homeless, they offer the food bank chits and things like that. I want to know what these ones specific do. I don't give a fuck about the fucking. Canada Board of Health told me smoking was cool until the 60s.
You understand Alberta Health Services runs the safe injection sites, right?
You understand the Calgary Board of Education runs Calgary schools, right?
Right.
So you want to learn about a specific school, you don't go to the Calgary Board of Education website. You go to that school's website. Calgary Board of Education ain't going to tell me what the fucking Forest Lawn Trojans are doing this year.
I think we're.
You want to know about
No,
the specific.
well,
The
yeah,
Alberta
but-
Health is going to
but-
give you a general overview
Yeah,
of what they have
absolutely.
the sites. The
Absolutely.
specific site is going to have their mandate. The specific site's going to have what they give you.
But here's the difference, though, or here's the thing: is that all of these sites take their agenda from Alberta Healthcare, right?
Not all of them, because
unless are they privately owned?
Not privately owned, but they don't take all of it. Like this Alberta Healthcare, and they have Alberta Health Services and things like that. But at the same time, you're getting a different form of service if you go to the Rocky View than if you go to Peter Lougheed, or if you go to the Sheldon Schumer Center than if you go to the county center. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I want to know if there is specific things on there. If
Are
you
there
go to the
differences
site,
between these
do they
safe injection sites?
Yeah,
quote
and if there
unquote?
is no
Okay.
differences, do they give you more detail of what they offer
Okay, so Sheldon
than what
Schumer.
the health board is saying on their
Okay.
website? Is
Right.
if you go to the specific ones, do they just give you more things? Like we
Okay.
have this many rooms, we have beds, we have this.
So this is
health,
directly-
Alberta Health is just going to give you a general overview of what
Right.
these sites
Okay,
are and
that's-
what they do.
And that's what I was trying to get to was the general overview, then jump into exactly what the program was. So this is from Sheldon Schumer's site, the actual safe injection site here in Calgary, one of the main ones here in Calgary. It says provides care, treatment, and support for people with a history of drug use in the community. Services include injection supplies and safer injecting information, safer sex supplies and information, testing and counseling for HIV, hepatitis A, B, and C,
Which is good.
testing, counseling, and treatment for syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia, a point of care rapid HIV testing, vaccinations, overdose prevention kits will be provided free of charge, client counseling and support, physical and mental health assessments with appropriate intervention and referrals to mainstream health and social services, wound care, harm reduction presentations to community members and organizations, supervised consumption services.
So
now
now
it
we know-
doesn't go into any detail
But that's
about all
perfect
that,
right there.
but-
That's perfect right there. Now we know that a safe this specific safe injection site isn't just a safe injection
No,
site
I realize,
by name.
and I wasn't.
So
and
what
exactly,
it is,
and I wasn't.
I'm not saying you were. I'm not saying you
I'm
wasn't.
saying-
We have people that are listening, so I'm trying to explain more because
Right.
they're probably listening and only hearing what they hear. So we're giving them more information. You dig what I'm saying? Now we know a safe injection site is more than just come in and get high.
Right.
You can go in there. You could go in there and get a vaccination. You could be homeless and not have access to something. Get a vaccination. You could you can have a gaping wound or something on your arm and be like, fuck, I can't. You could go right into, there's so many things. You can get high in a fucking coke house, a trap house,
All right.
walk out, feel like shit, walk into here and talk to somebody and come clean. Like,
Well,
there's so many different services in there.
By these, this is the program that's offered, and what the injection, I guess the drug injection sites are under is called the Safe Works Harm Reduction Program. So all of these, everything here is underneath that harm reduction program, including the safe injection, right? All of these services are offered within that program, which is great. Except, I think under this definition, it would be good if you did not have the ability to inject yourself with drugs at the site.
Why?
Everything else here
But
seems
so
great.
how is that, apart from the specific individual, how is that harmful? The specific individual, I mean, at the end of the day, you could look at anything that we partake in that alters our mind, that's harmful to us.
Right.
So if we're gonna, like, instead of sitting here and telling individuals what they should and should not do to themselves, let's take the self-harm equation out of it. What is the detriments of the safe injection sites? If we're taking the self-harm and all that whole equation.
I don't think you can take that out of the equation.
But we can have the conversation.
No, we can't, because that is definitely one of the things that they offer.
Right, but
Right?
that's not the debate that's going on. That we're having a debate that's not even going on. The debate isn't about if it's harmful to the person going. The debate right now is if it's harmful to the community, if it's harmful to the public. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Well,
so I'm going to give you some evidence
okay.
here. This is off Calgary Sun website, and this is exactly what we were just talking about. This is the Sheldon Schumer Health Center, and it's so-called safe injection site. Quite the name, the buffer area. I'm going to read directly from this. An area between two warring sides. But in the so-called buffer area, one side is winning the war, and it's not the hardworking, tax-paying, law-abiding citizens living in the Calgary Belt. And this is written a little bit on John's side here. It's a little one-sided.
Is it Rick Bell?
Pardon me?
Is it Rick Bell?
Yes.
Yeah, then it is, yeah?
Yeah. So
100%. I know. My man Rick.
Yeah.
I love reading my man Rick.
So you just have to read a report from the Calgary Police Service, which I will do in a second here, and to know who's running the show. What was once a nice place is now a circus for criminals and troublemakers hang out and show us all who is boss.
This is Sheldon Schumer.
Yes, this is at Sheldon Schumer. The drug dealers, the meth addicts, the idiots who beat people, steal from them, steal from their vehicles, steal from their homes and businesses, damage their property, and scare the hell out of them. This is a quote. Officers observed incidents of threats, assaults, and alarming behaviors where bear sprays, knives, and machetes were used, end quote. Is just one of the many nasty sentences from the top report on the mayhem. Here's another, and I quote, "These police observations are consistent with concerns raised by some community members and suggest violent crime is underreported," end quote. Underreported when violence in 2018 was officially 47% higher than the 3-year average. Safe injection site, a cruel name in the neighborhood no longer safe. We are in the buffer area. We are at the barbershop. And then it goes on to some personal stories here. So I don't want to get into the personal stories. That's subjective. These are actual police. Those quotes that I read are from police reports, right? So to say it's safer within the community, it may be safer.
Who said that?
I'm just saying if the common argument for people when they say safe injection sites to make it safe for the community, it's one of the main things why they put it up, right? In fact, it was one of the main things you said when you said in Hastings, right?
It depends on
what
which
neighborhood
it goes into.
Right. So the community.
Where did Sheldon Schumer go into though?
Sheldon Schumer went right into 14th or 11th and 1st, which is a pretty bad. It was a pretty bad neighborhood.
Sheldon Schumer 11th and 1st. But Sheldon Schumer's always been there.
No, they built it. They built it 10 years ago. It hasn't always been there. So
Let's say in the last 10 years, it's always been there. I mean, like in recent memory,
right? But
Sheldon Schumer's but the safe injection just got put in there. They just opened the safe injection in there. I think the safe injection thing was like a couple years ago.
Oh,
that got put into
option,
the Sheldon, that option for
added,
it.
Yeah, I know it was always an
because I used to go. When I lived downtown, I used to go to the Sheldon Schumer all the time, and they're like, "This is only for STDs." I'm like, "Dude, I don't want to go to." Like, there's no hospital.
Like, I don't want an STD.
I just walk in clinic. I'm sick. I go into sore throat. So are you illicit activities? I'm like, dog, I have a sore throat. It's just for STDs. And no, they have a bunch of levels in there and shit too, right?
Maybe I got it from kissing an unclean woman.
Right,
I don't know. Does that help?
It was 2017 when they implemented it. So it's only a couple years.
So it's one of those things where, see, now you got to think: did the Beltline have that issue? So the reason why I think it worked in, now this is speculation, the reason why I think it worked in Hastings, because East Hastings had an issue of everybody shooting up on the streets. You gave them a place that was away from the streets that made it quote unquote safe. I'm just gonna say safe because I don't know there's a lack of better terms. But if we didn't, I mean, everybody's walked through the Beltline at 3 o'clock in the morning. Of course, you have a junkie, you have a homeless dude, you have someone ready to fight from the club. But we didn't really. I haven't walked through the Beltline in specific areas and seen a needle out there in a while. So it seems like with the Sheldon Schumer safe injection, it brought that to the area.
Yeah, I remember. I guess the biggest sites was coming up through Inglewood. I guess Inglewood, but right by the river, there was a whole bunch. There was that area where the woods were, and people were going. What's that little park called? I can't remember, but that was like the worst part. Because I remember going there when I was junior high and just doing a garbage cleanup, and they were very specific. If you guys find needles, do not touch them. Call one of your supervisors. This and that. I was working at a site downtown less than 3 months ago. And it had hoarding around it, right? So hoarding is the fencing with the little whatever else in it, right? The little fabric to keep the window. And they said, do not, if you have gloves on your hand, even if you have gloves, don't run your hand along the fencing because you're going to get stabbed by a needle, right? And this was 2 blocks from the Sheldon Schumer, right? So I'm thinking to myself, if this it was a fairly decent place to live before Sheldon Schumer implemented this system. Now that they've had that there, the problems they've had, I guess law-wise or crime-wise, are 47% higher.
Yeah, because
right?
Calgary really hasn't had a Skid Row.
Right.
We haven't really had a heroin alley.
For maybe Electric Ave way back in the day was bad, but it wasn't bad.
It wasn't a Skid Row. It wasn't a Club Row. I feel like we haven't had the only thing comparable. Like we haven't had anything comparable to East Hastings. Right. It wasn't that bad. We've always had addicts.
Okay,
so I think
my whole thing is sorry.
So let me just interrupt one quick second. I think we need to for the rest of this episode. I think what we need to do is decide if we're going to go on one specific site or we're going to look at this as a program in general. I think that's what we should do right now. Because if we start getting very specific, we can stay very, very specific. And I don't mind either way, whichever way you guys want to go.
No matter to me.
I think the generality of it is probably a better way to approach it. Because you can always find in any case a specific example of something that bucks the trend. Right? And then the problem or the temptation is to use that to see where they see not all times does this happen. Well, yeah, not all times does it happen. But that's what you call the exception that proves the rule. You know what I'm saying? Right? My whole issue with all of this, and of course they're not coming out and seeing it, but my whole issue with all of this is by setting up these sites, you're not necessarily advocating for drug use, but you are subtly telling the society that, well, drug use is okay. Right? Because we're not penalizing anyone, like no one is being penalized for this. And to be absolutely honest, as Caribbean upbringing always dictates, if you don't feel consequences for your actions, you will not learn. Right? So by erasing consequences to actions, you will not learn a thing. The problem here is, and I saw this happen in Trinidad. Right? Trinidad during the 70s and 80s experienced a massive oil boom, and it was paradise on earth. And then what happened? The drug culture came in because of all the affluence. Trinidad right now, as Trump would have said last year, is a shithole country. And I love Trinidad to death. That is I will always rep Trinidad. But I'm realistic to say it's a shithole country. And a big part of that is because of the drug culture.
But don't you think like heroin addicts already suffer the consequences? Like they know fully.
Oh, no, absolutely. Absolutely. The point of knowing consequences is more of a preventative measure rather than a remedy.
Right.
Right? So, and again, I know I say this cliche a lot, but it makes sense in almost everything we talk about. Prevention is better than cure. Right? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That is a mindset that has been lost on today's society.
Right.
And I mean, how far have we actually fallen as a society where you have to tell your kids, don't go outside and run your hands along a fence because you might get stabbed with a needle and catch HIV. Oh, like that's freaking scary. How ridiculous have we become as a society?
We have to say it less now than we do in the 80s.
But yeah, but we still have to say it.
Yeah, we still. But I mean, right? At the end of the day, like our society is 100% fucked.
Yeah.
Like, you got to tell your kids, like, if you live in, especially if you live in the States, you got to tell
Yeah.
your kids, okay, so if the cops pull you over, okay, if you see an old lady crying on a park bench, do not approach her,
Exactly.
keep walking. It's a
Yeah.
sting. You're going to get shot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, don't run your hand across the fence. Don't
Yeah.
play in this thing. Don't go in the backyard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but my thing is, like,
Yeah, the reason I said that, and I didn't mean, I'm sorry to
that's all
interrupt.
good. I think I
right?
interrupted you.
Yeah, it's all good. The reason I said that is not necessarily for any listener to go, well, what, like, start, I guess, debating in their mind, what do we need to do? But it's more of a wake-up call, right? I'm trying to use that as a wake-up call. How far have we fallen, right? We're all contributors to this fall. I lump myself in that category too, right? So the whole point of one individual saying, well, okay, this mindset is okay for me. How many more individuals does it take for that to be a problem to society? Right? Looking at it on an individual basis is fine. But when you have too many individuals doing it, then it becomes a society problem.
So, I still don't think the safe inject. I mean, maybe the name is misleading, but
I
I
think the
feel
whole
like
concept
if you
is
have the
misleading.
concept is misleading, but the alternative is the trap houses in the streets.
But no, I don't think so, because that's a false dichotomy, right?
Can I ask a question?
Well, maybe.
So what
I-
is
yeah.
that's what I just want to know. What is the alternative, right? If
Yeah.
we're, I mean,
The
at the end of the day, we're
alternative is
trying to
this.
facilitate something, like basically
Okay.
what it is like taking the is like putting a concealer over a
Okay,
blemish.
no,
right?
let me tell you what the alternative is, right? In a very, very brief nutshell. Society needs to wake up and take responsibility for what they are doing as a whole. And the reason I say that is because you look at the rise of drug use, you look at the rise of the incidence of junkies, etc. You can almost track linearly the rise of single mother households, the rise of fatherless households, the rise of broken relationships when it comes to children, right? This was something that really started happening en masse, maybe in the late 70s, early 80s, right? So, with
you know,
less...
sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
the government, and I can say both of our governments, both here and down south, are a huge contributor to single parent households.
Oh, absolutely. They reward single-parent households,
Yeah,
right? With tax breaks, etc., etc.
they reward them, they create them.
Yeah, but that's not the point I'm trying to make here, though, right? Regardless of whether the government is contributing to it or not, that does not contribute to someone going, well, I'm going to go and be promiscuous with my life, have a bunch of kids that I can't take care of, and then, or get divorced from my woman, even though we have 3 kids that need caring for, right? That's not forcing people to do that, right? The problem is we have destroyed the foundation of what society actually is, and this is the result of it. And this is more the result of humans being selfish rather than humans taking responsibility for their actions and living up to their responsibilities.
But that's not an
Right.
alternative to safe injection sites.
Hold on. This is why I'm saying this. We can still reverse the trend if we actually start focusing more on let's get the family unit back together. Right? For the here and now, maybe for the next 20 years, the problem will not be solved. No matter what we do, the problem will not be solved. Because the problem is not a substance abuse problem. The problem is not we need to get drugs off the street problem. The problem is not we need to get pushers off the street. The problem is we need to change the mentality of society back to the family is the most important unit and the building block of society. Until that happens, these problems will continue. And then
But what is the problem? So the problem is people getting high. The problem is people injecting.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
the safe injection sites, quote unquote, facilitate the problem.
I think
They give you it's a facility where you can indulge in your problem.
Exactly.
With and the alternative to that is in the street or in the what's it called, right? So I understand where you're coming from, but I'm gonna say it again, back to brass tacks. Other than safe injection sites, what are some alternatives that we can do? What are some alternatives that we can do to, I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of your lifestyle or anything like that, if you're a drug addict, you're someone in dire need of help. You're a human being in dire need of help. So what are some of the alternatives that may or may not work?
Right. I think, it's easy to say we need to get back to that family unit. It's very difficult to do. And it's easy to say, we have this site. You guys come get high here. What are some alternatives? I think, to get back to the family dynamic is going to take many, many years.
Absolutely.
To get to get to a point where drugs aren't an issue in society, and I say issue very loosely, because I have some different thoughts on drugs, but there needs to be a here and now solution, and there also needs to be a long-term solution, right? So I think what Will is trying to get at is, okay,
What's the here and now solution?
What's the here and now? And you're saying this is the long term, right? So how do we bridge the gap?
I don't think there is,
what I'm saying is if someone is against the safe injection sites, what is your alternative?
Right,
Are
and
we
that's what
just
I'm
going
saying.
to take
Yeah.
all the junkies, put them on a bus, drive them to a safe injection site on the edge of the city?
Leprosy, buddy.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is the
Throw them on a
alternative?
fucking island. No.
So, but
that's
then
what
it's
I'm
like, okay, so, and for us to be where we are, we're really coddled as far as talking about this situation. So
Right.
let's say
Absolutely,
you
yeah.
live,
Yeah,
you and-
absolutely.
let's say you lived with, let's say you're a single mother because your husband died in the war. You live in downtown Los Angeles, 3 blocks away from Heroin Alley or Skid Row or something like
Yeah,
that.
but here's the messed up thing. Just to interject really quickly, widows and children of widows or widowers statistically do not do any worse than kids who come from a quote unquote nuclear family.
But I'm not saying
Statistically.
I'm not going to say they're going to
Right.
do worse or get into
Yeah.
drugs. He grows up to be the president, and she dies in a beautiful rainstorm of unicorns. That's not.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about what's happening now. But because of financial situations, they died. She's trying to get back on her feet. She lives 3 blocks away from there. Now she walks
Right.
her kids to school, or a kid could be old enough to walk to school by himself.
Yeah.
And he's tripping over junkies, he's dodging needles, and da 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 da.
Yeah.
They put a safe injection site in that area. This is where they go. Crime rate hasn't gone up because it's fucking an area that's rampant with crime anyways. But the streets are a little bit cleaner for this kid. This kid's a little bit safer to go to school.
Yeah.
That's where you could look at it where like that's a good alternative. If you look at the Beltline, if you look at where we are and Sheldon Schumer got put up, it wasn't horribly horrible. And then when you put that there, it was like a magnet to bring everybody to that one spot where
Yeah.
everybody was. It's Calgary. Everybody's
was
dispersed.
dispersed, yeah.
Individually doing it. Like we don't have trap houses and
Right,
shit.
and
except
then,
we have
then
one-
we,
the
so,
eco-
so,
the
so we have
each
this
echelon house.
So
or
we have
whatever.
this safe injection site, and everybody was drawn
Drawn
to it,
in.
right? So now that's where all the crime, where
Right.
all the
So we have an
everything
example
happens,
of
right?
either or, right?
Exactly.
So
So,
now-
my point is, for the people listening and the people arguing, the Rick Bells and everybody like that. Okay, do not say, well, safe injection sites are bad. They're not bad. You can't be 100% bad because in that one specific situation, just like John said, there's levels to it. So we got to understand you can't be for or against it unless it's the situation that you're in.
There has to be different specifics of what you agree with, what you don't agree with. And I think
And
we have
you
Right,
need
right,
good
right.
reasons
Gotcha,
why,
yeah.
and then you got to
Yeah.
think, okay, so if the situation that let's say just generally the situation you're in where it's like it's dispersed, it's not a huge problem, you bring it to that area, now it's a magnet bringing in there. What would you if you don't like Coke, you want Pepsi. So if you don't like this here, what are your alternatives? Don't come to me with not YouTube, but don't come to me with an issue. Come to me with a solution to something you're unhappy
Right.
about. So what are some of the alternatives?
I just want to throw a question out there, and this is going to sound really ignorant.
Nice.
These sites are to help people, loss of life, not overdose, all this fun shit, right? Are all those lives really worth saving? I don't mean the lives themselves. I mean,
But I don't. I
I've never
disagree
met a
with you.
human. I never met a human life that wasn't
I
worth
disagree
saving.
with you on the premise, and I'll tell
hold
you
on,
why.
wait. I'm just saying. I'm not saying those lives. I'm
Yeah.
saying is what it takes to save those lives worth everything else that's happening right
I
now.
disagree
That's
with you
what
on
I'm
the
getting
premise.
at.
The safe injection sites are not meant to save the junkie's life, right? The safe injection sites are meant to make the society around safer.
That's
Exactly.
where the safe come from.
Well, that's
Yeah.
where it is.
Okay.
It's
But
the sa- 'cause
if you go on
that's the main
overdose,
of
if
it.
you go on overdose, or they have
But it's
they have
it's
people there to
to-
save your life.
Absolutely,
to
but
It's
get
to,
back.
generally-
it's to make the thing so in the situation where it's like let's say Forest Lawn in the 90s, a safe injection site was made to make the people around safer. But there's also that subtitle, oh, we're gonna make it safer for the junkies to
Exactly. That's the
a
underlying
subtitle,
subtext, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you can't make something safer by putting it somewhere where it wasn't unsafe because you're just bringing in that element.
Right.
Yeah, and you can't magically make something safer that is inherently unsafe.
Right, but
You know
my-
what I'm
know what
saying?
makes-
Like-
the only thing,
You know what,
I was
though?
trying to say is that is it worth all of this stuff that all these good people are doing for good causes? Is it worth the outcome?
Yeah, what I think, and I understand the question you're asking. That's not a question I would answer in that way. I believe every human life is sacred. From conception to death, I believe every human life is sacred. And every human life deserves the chance to be saved.
Right.
Okay?
And again, I'm not saying the life specifically, remember?
Yeah. Right. So when it comes to junkies, absolutely they deserve the chance to be saved. Sometimes, though, you need, in certain cases, you need to enact tough love. Right? North Americans, by and large, seem to have the mentality that being nice is being good. Sometimes those two are mutually exclusive. You don't have to be nice to be good.
Right.
Right? If your child needs a spanking, then you spank him. It's not the nice thing to do, but it'll teach him a lesson. That's good. Right? So, again, one of the problems is all of this is stemming from the mentality that people do not want to face the actual consequences of their actions.
Right. There's no responsibility.
Right? So
there's no
sometimes,
accountability.
and sometimes you need to have that example of the consequence of your action right in your face so that people go, I do not want to go down that road. Okay? I grew up seeing cokeheads in Trinidad. You think I ever had the mindset to take one line of coke? Hell fucking no. Right? It's a daft idea.
Right. I know.
Right? From the time you're born and or from the time you can understand you're in school, right? The whole war on drugs thing is do not do coke. Do not do heroin. Do not shoot up whatever. Right? But the mentality of I will not have to face my consequences overrides that. Right? When you don't have to see it.
But they
Hold on.
So you think that taking them, so you feel like you feel like you need to murder your enemies and put them on pikes in front of your house.
Not at
so
all.
the enemies,
Not
so
at
the whole
all.
thing is like you think like they should be in the street so people can see
Not
this?
at all either. Not at all either. Right?
I'm gonna counter you real quick because I also know people that have grown up in drug houses that see it all day, every day, and because that's what they know, that's what they do.
Absolutely.
Well, so where's the line?
That's why I smoke
Absolutely.
cigarettes.
No, exactly.
dead-ass
I dead ass. Both my parents smoked. I
Yeah.
grew up like I was 12 or 9
I
years
grew
old.
up
Like,
in
cool,
the-
let's have a
yeah.
smoke.
I grew up in the 80s. My pops smoked in the house with me.
Yeah.
And weed.
Okay.
My question is,
Like this close to my dad.
Yeah.
He passed the weed past me to his niggas. Like
Right.
Where's
No, and
where's the line between recognizing the consequence of these actions and saying this is normalcy?
Okay, what I would like to
normalcy.
see first, in order to answer that, I would like to see statistics on people who have grown up in drug houses and have become drug users.
oh shit.
Oh, damn.
I don't think
Exactly.
CSIS goes to those doors.
Right? So
Or,
basically, that's
census.
my whole point. That's my whole point, right? Is that you can bring up that anecdotal example. Of course, we're going to know people who have done that.
Right.
Right? This is why I also said...
But that can also flip it back the other way.
Hold on. This is why I also said the other part of the problem
Right.
is society does not want to face the consequences of its
No,
actions.
100. I agree with you 100%.
That's the mentality.
Right. I agree with
Right?
you 100%. You and I have these conversations off air all the time. Well,
Yeah.
If I come to you with saying things that I don't really know the answer to. I know which way I'm leaning, right? And I say,
Yeah.
what should I do? And I don't really say what should I do. You're just like, let me tell you this. And you don't tell me what to do. You say, it boils down to this, right? What are your choices? And are you going to be responsible? Are you responsible for that action? Are you going to take responsibility? Are you going to be accountable? Right? And one thing I've done since I've been drug free is taken accountability for everything, no matter how small. Right? That goes for work. That goes for friends. That goes for family. Everything.
Yeah.
If somebody says something is my fault, I'll say, okay, great. How do we solve that?
Yeah.
I don't focus on the problem. I focus on the solution.
The solution, yes.
Right? So my thing is, I think what this is they're focusing on a solution, but it's the wrong solution. The problem is now that we can't think of a better solution, and I think we need to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I think we came to the solution so quick because the problem was killing us.
Right. It was so detrimental
It was-
to
yeah, it was a
society
knee-jerk
that
reaction.
that people were
Absolutely.
like, okay, how can we make it so people aren't dying in the street?
Yeah.
Okay, give them a site where they can inject, have people there watching them so if they do overdose, we can actually save them from dying. Great concept. Great in concept. Not necessarily feasible.
Yeah, and this is my whole thing, right? That's why I came down to, or that's why I reduced it to, being nice and being good can be mutually exclusive. Safe injection sites are being nice,
Right. They're not
right?
being,
They're not being good.
Right.
That is not good.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. We have to the tough love thing is great.
We got to figure out what the tough love
We have to-
for this situation
Yeah, we
would
have
be.
to we
So
have
open
to
up
figure
a-
out we have to figure out if we're using a belt or if we're using a switch because
I got a
either
plan.
one hurts a little more than the other, right?
I got a plan.
Oh god.
Okay, so we
Please
we
save me.
open up a safe injection site, right? As soon as and every time one of them walks in, we kidnap them, put them on a bus, take them to a rehabilitation center. that's like the 1970s sanitarium, and just let them go crazy. And after, I don't know how much it takes to get heroin out your body, but after the week or whatever, if the dope six, we clean them up, give them a suit and tie, and drop them off at a job interview for the.
You know what is crazy is that the mental side this is strictly from what I've heard, right? And I want to be absolutely clear here. I have a family member who is going through heroin, what is it? Addiction right now.
Why didn't you talk to them and get some insight on this shit?
I haven't talked because I haven't talked to that person in 3 years, and I do not want to. Simply because I've tried and tried and tried, and it's not worked. We're not going to get into that. What I'm saying is that I have a family member going through this right now. From when I talked to that person last, it wasn't a physical. She said the physical part of it isn't what hurts you. It's the mental part.
Right.
Whereas let's take nicotine for example. It's more of a physical draw. Right, it's not a mental draw. If you can get past the 2 days or 3 days of physical draw, you should be good because your mind will overcome it. Right.
Well, I think it's more like 2 weeks, but
right.
whatever. Yeah.
Whatever it is
it's different for everyone.
The mental draw has to be addressed. Right now, we're addressing the physical by having these sites. Right.
Yeah.
We need to address the mental and what's behind it and why people are actually doing the drugs themselves.
Isn't that
right?
why they have the counselors and all that extra shit?
Exactly. But here's the thing: is that we're not pushing the counselors; we're just offering. Right. And I think.
I
understand.
You haven't talked to your
I
family member in 3 years. So we all know how effective it is to push something on an addict.
Pardon?
You cannot push an agenda on an addict.
No, exactly. That's exactly what I was getting to. That's exactly what I was getting to. Is you cannot
having the option there is good.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I was getting.
But they're not pushing the counselors.
You can offer all you want, but until you have the mindset that you do want to change. And even when you do have that mindset, sometimes it's difficult because that mental anguish that you go through is a lot tougher than the physical, right?
Right.
So I've gone through it myself, right? It was just there was times I tried quitting cocaine, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 million times. Before I actually did. And the only reason is because I was arrested. And I was like, okay, I have to figure this out. And now I want to change. How do I better my life? There was a mindset switch, 100%, like a 180 that I had to go through myself, right? And if these people aren't willing to do that, I don't think we should be able to give them the ability to safely inject themselves either. It's a catch-22.
I think we should.
You want to help these people, but you don't want them to keep going down this path. So
let them keep going down the
go?
path. They're gonna either offer help or they're gonna kill themselves. Hopefully they get that they accept the help that's offered up.
Right, but we have to get past that point of giving them the option, because obviously the option for them is the drugs. So we have to take away the option somehow. I just don't know how.
You're acting like if we take away the option, they're not going to have the option. We're
No,
just
that's what I'm saying.
we're just closing the door.
And I'm not
they have
saying-
a whole field.
And I'm not saying
We're just closing the door.
I'm not saying specifically the safe injection side. I'm saying that ability to get the drugs. I'm saying what this all encompasses is the war on drugs doesn't work. We know that, right? Safe injection sites may or may not work.
They work better than the war on drugs.
They work better than war on drugs. What we have to get to
I'd like
is
to see statistics on that,
is the mentality side. War on drugs does not work, dog.
No, not that.
Listen,
not that. I'd like to see the statistics on the safe injection sites working better than the war on
Did
drugs.
you see my eyes light up like that?
Yo, I could walk outside and whistle. I could
know
walk
that doesn't
outside and whistle and be like, cocaine! And the car will pull up. I don't know who it is.
Yep.
No, it's the same
like
with
a
me,
taxi.
right? Like
Cocaine!
It's the same with me. Like DJing for how many ever years I did. I can't tell you how many times I was offered cocaine, weed, heroin, whatever, right? And I don't do none of it. And the people know that I don't do any of it. Right. They still be like, yo, we're doing some cocaine in the bathroom. Would you like to join? Where in the last 10 years have you known me that I would want to join that?
Right?
Right.
I've never been actively offered heroin. I've been offered a lot of stuff. Never heroin. Like I don't even know
Meth. I've never
the
been offered
social
meth.
the social circumstances where I'd be like, someone walk up and be like, hey, you want to take this drug that makes you fall asleep and shit yourself? Like I've never been in that social situation.
I do that already. So
I'm just thinking there's got to be some.
I'm almost there.
There has to be some underlying mental. I'm not going to say mental disorder, mental disease. There has to be some kind of trauma or something that has happened that people are trying to escape.
sometimes,
right?
absolutely, but not all the time.
Some
right? Like the
motherfuckers
person
just-
you know.
That's
I don't
from
think-
trauma. Definitely from trauma.
Are you serious?
Absolutely positive.
Wow, because I know people who, and okay, yourself.
Yeah.
Were you a coke user because of trauma?
No, I was a coke user because of availability.
Okay.
There you go.
Right? So, and not only
And
availability.
then you took it away from me, and I was good. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's why my mind is confused. I'm so confused with this because I know my personal experience from it, but I also know the struggle of other people, right? And this is not to brag or anything. I just think I have maybe a stronger mind than somebody would.
You were in jail. If they took it away from you on the streets, you would go and get it.
Yeah.
They took it away-
Well, that's not
they
true.
took it
I was in
away
jail,
from
but
you.
I got on house arrest. I had all the
Yeah, but they-
availability to me.
But
right?
if you're on house arrest, you're monitored. You had all the availability to, but you would have got caught. You probably would have had to piss again.
Right. No, I was
So
like,
the
I
thing
said it
is,
to myself.
if
I'm like,
someone-
I'm never going back to jail.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that again.
Exactly.
You know what
So
I mean?
if someone took it away from you in the streets, you would have gone out and get it again. It's not that it's not.
Okay,
but
I
you
get
were
that.
in jail.
Yeah,
they took
you
it
were-
away
the-
from
the-
you,
the
and now
circumstance was forced
you didn't
upon
have.
you, so
Okay,
you
so
didn't
then
have
so,
no
then-
choice.
so they took it away from you and gave you a consequence
Okay.
of freedom or not.
Okay, so then by that,
You had a
That's my
consequence
whole
of
point.
freedom or not.
Okay, and
Yeah.
so by that logic, the war on drugs worked on me. Let's put it like that. I was arrested. The war
Yeah.
on drugs worked on me.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
because I'm not an addict anymore.
No,
But
the war
over-
on drugs didn't work on you. It's just that specific battle you lost.
Okay, perfect. I'll
Or
take that.
won,
I'll take. No,
depending
I
on how
won.
you
Yeah,
look
I
at it.
won. No, I won that
What side?
motherfucker.
What side of the war were you on?
I won that motherfucker. What I'm saying is that
Reaganomics. What side of the war were you on?
So I'm hesitant to say this, but do we just arrest everybody we see doing that, and hopefully it helps? Like I don't. That's where my mind is torn. We already know it doesn't work.
This was You gotta think like some of them probably already been arrested before. It doesn't work. That's what I'm saying. There's levels to this
Exactly.
shit. There's people that go to these safe injection sites and this shit works for them. There's people that go to safe injection sites. They don't want to do anything. And then they go out and handle their business. There's functioning heroin addicts.
Right.
Listen, you know what I'm saying?
I just
They
wanna
go
say-
to work 9 to 5, 5 days a week, and then inject on a Saturday
That's
and then
true.
Yeah, and
sleep on a
if it's their
Sunday.
kid, they go to
There's
work 8 days a week.
And there's
because-
functioning
Yeah.
out.
Even
There's
when it's
functioning
closed, they just
There's
walk around the
functioning
office.
out. There's functioning alcoholics and everything too, right?
I happen to be one. But think about this. But a functioning alcoholic. This is a fucked up thing to say, but a functioning alcoholic is easier to picture than a functioning crackhead or a functioning heroin
Yeah,
addict.
because alcohol is
Because-
accepted in society, right?
No,
It's
it's
sold-
because heroin is a fucked up drug. Every time I watch a fucking A&E fucking biography on
these
a
people are,
singer,
like,
these
sleep
singers
of
are fucked
angels,
up on
just messed up,
It's
you know?
like the only time they're ever active is when they're making music, like Ray Charles. I mean, how do you do that shit when you're on heroin?
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain, the dude from
Right.
Stone Temple Pilots. So it's one of those things where it's like, it's just heroin. Like we need to look at heroin and liquid cocaine. There's no functioning people on liquid cocaine. Nobody who does liquid cocaine and injects that shit is functioning.
Yeah.
Nobody. They're zombies. It's worse than heroin. It's worse than crack. It's worse than meth. They're zombies. They sleepwalk for this fucked up. You've been to Vancouver, right?
I have never been.
Okay, East Hastings, and I'm not talking.
Is
just
it still bad?
I don't know. I haven't been to Vancouver since.
Our producer Big Lev says it's bad.
Yeah. So in 01, 99, 2000, and 01, when I was there, and it's not just walking down like when tourists trap. Oh, let's go see East Hastings and get a T-shirt and then smoke some weed in the brownie bar. Like to actually be there, not doing anything illicit and shit like that, but music shit and a lot of people there. It's a fucked up thing to see. And when you get tired of seeing it, sometimes cities just want to be like, let's put them in a place where we don't have to see it.
Absolutely.
There's places where safe injection sites have gone up because the Olympics went there.
Yeah.
There's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely, right?
Yo,
And
like a lot of
that's
stuff
and
in
again-
Hastings happened
again,
because
so
the Olympics
think
came to
think of the
Vancouver.
mentality you're describing,
Yeah.
right? We don't want to help them. We just want them out of the way.
Because we can't. The war on drugs doesn't work because you can't have a war on drugs. You have to have a war, and you have to.
No, you have to
convince-
have a war on society.
Yeah,
really and
exactly.
truly.
You need to convince people that you don't need to sell drugs. We can do this for you, so you don't need to sell drugs. You can
Yeah.
be gainfully employed and make them out the same amount of money.
Yeah.
We need to take first of all, we need to take a lot of the stigma around colleges, and let these kids know that they could still be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
We need to take around because not going to college, your life is ruined. It's not true. We need to take the stigma around why people are doing these drugs.
Yes.
We need to fucking focus on mental health. We need to focus on, like you said, the family. We need to focus on so many different things, and we can't right now. But of course, these safe injection clinics have that twist to them, which hopefully it's not being pushed, but hopefully
At least it's being implemented.
It's being implemented, and hopefully they're talking to these people. Hopefully it's
Right.
just not going. It's like, oh, it's not like it's
And
not
let's-
like Nucleus on fucking 17th.
Right.
You listen to hip hop? No, okay, cool. Hopefully it's like, listen, sitting down with them and having a human to human conversation
if
with
you
these
keep
people.
seeing that person day after day or week after week, you can slowly break those people down.
Bring them bring them a sandwich, bring them this, that, and the third. Talk to them about their families and things like that, and then open up those gates. And as soon as they have that emotion, they do that shit. There's so many things we need to focus on. The war on drugs was just say no. I've never walked to school and they say, oh, they're going to give it to you free at first and then get you hooked. I've never been offered anything on the way to school. I've never been offered drugs for free. Even at a party, how much money you got, or am I chipping in? Never been offered. The war on drugs doesn't work because it's not being fought by junkies. If a junkie started the war on drugs, drugs would be gone. A junkie knows how drugs are coming in this motherfucker. If a drug dealer said, you know what, I don't want to deal drugs no more, I'm going to stop. Him and a junkie could save the fucking world. We have Nancy Reagan telling us just say no. Nigga, I've never had the opportunity to say yes. The fuck?
I have.
You have?
I have.
But but how old were you DJing at 12? Nancy Reagan wasn't talking to you and the DJs. He wasn't talking to the club kids. Of course you have. You in the club. Niggas, they see you with bitches. You want some coke? I need my dick sucked. She likes you. You know what I'm saying? Just saying no doesn't work. The war on drugs has always been fucked up.
To me the age is irrelevant though, because of the fact that, as a kid, you have that in mind where you're like, yo, cocaine is bad. Somewhere along the line with a lot of adults that I know here, that mentality breaks down. And the selfish mentality overrides the just say no mentality.
It's because you have cocaine is because you have functioning coke heads around you.
Absolutely. So
And
people
you
look at that
always
example and they're like, well, that's the exception to the rule. I can do that too.
Yeah, and they see their homie.
Right.
They see their homie's not high on coke all the time.
Yeah.
You go to the bar, you get drunk, like, yo, do a bump, sober up. You do coke, yeah, just sober up. Next thing you know, you're Jessie off of Saved by the Bell singing and dancing, doing her homework. Even though that was caffeine pills.
Yes. but I think the lesson is the same. Right?
So you can't fight. There is no, the war on drugs is a scam. It's a sham.
Well, this is the problem with the war on drugs, at least the way I see it. It's like a magic trick, right? They're showing you one thing, and you think the solution is in the right hand. The solution was actually in the left hand the whole time.
Right.
Right? And the solution is not what you've seen here in the right hand with, a dove just appeared. No, the actual answer to the question is all the weird mechanics that are going on in the left hand that you didn't see, that took hard work. Right? We're trying to put band-aids over amputated legs, which is not going to work. Right? You want to get society working again, we need to get back to the foundation of what society, of what made society work in the beginning, the first place.
Exactly.
Here's
And I
the
think
thing.
with these safe injection sites, they're not going to work by
They're a
themselves.
Band-Aid.
They're a Band-Aid. But if you put 100 Band-Aids together, you got yourself a bandage. Put 100 bandages together, you got yourself a tourniquet. So this is just a small piece in the puzzle that needs to go into it. I think the safe injection sites should be had, but not by themselves. There should be we should focus on this. We should focus on that. We should focus on prevention. We should focus on a whole bunch of shit. You know what I'm saying?
We need. Here's my take. I think safe injection sites first and foremost need to be renamed. Because
take the weasel words out of it, man.
I think we need
Absolutely.
to let the public know exactly what they're getting into when city council signs a bill that passes these things. I think there needs to be more studies done on them. There needs to be studies done on the communities surrounding them. There also needs to be a whole different subset designated to mental health and reasonings behind why people are doing the drugs.
Absolutely, and this is why I went off in the beginning on the weasel word. Let's not define things improperly, because at the end of the day, if you want to gain knowledge, knowledge starts with defining things properly.
Right.
Right. This, really and truly, in a nutshell, is a government-sponsored, taxpayer-funded trap house that just happens to offer counseling.
Right. And
That's what it is.
I think to get to where you are saying to how we have to figure out what we want for society. I think we have to go back to what makes a functioning society function.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's not a mystery. We figured that out 2,000 years ago.
Right.
It's just, unfortunately, in the last 40 years, people think they know better.
Well, you have to realize that we still have that hunter-gatherer mindset, right? We still have that ingrained in us, no matter how many people say that it's been, evolution can't work that quick. right? We still have these inherent things in us that we want. It's self-preservation. And unfortunately, with mental health, you're looking at it like some people see self-preservation as I need to stop these thoughts in my head. To have the mentality like that, there's only a certain amount of things you can do or that you feel that you can do before it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah, but that's again
right.
That is some cases, right?
No, I get that. But
to be absolutely honest, everybody I know that's ever taken cocaine, heroin, whatever the hell else,
right,
did not come from a traumatic background.
No, I get that. But what I'm saying is,
so what's the problem?
What I'm saying is that people have different abilities to handle situations mentally, right?
Absolutely.
So whether a trauma to me might not be a trauma to you, right? Some people think that there's literally some people think that somebody ringing their doorbell is a traumatic incident, right? They're shut-ins or whatever they're called, right? Agoraphobic, right? So that's a trauma to them, an absolute trauma that's going to be so detrimental to their day, their week, their month, whatever it is, right? And again, it's a mental health problem that needs to be addressed. Whether that be a trauma that you think is such a hard trauma. Let's say you have a kid and your kid dies. That's a trauma to pretty much anybody in the world.
Yeah, especially the kid.
Right. To deal with that mental anguish, there's a lot of people that have had their kids die by some accident or something happening that has led them obviously into drug use or has led them to be the biggest philanthropic person in the world.
Yes.
Right? There's different ways to address these things. And I
absolutely.
I think it goes back to what you were saying, John, that taking responsibility and accountability for everything you do is what is ultimately going to lead us to a better life and a better society.
Yes.
Right? Now, having these safe injection sites that are allowing people to take the easy way out, and I'm saying that just for lack of better term, taking the easy way out is allowing them to not address what they need to address in their own life personally. Right?
I agree with you.
I think just not even the safe injection sites. I truly believe that the actual act of doing the intravenous drug is the act of not taking responsibility of what's going on in their life.
Exactly what it is.
I think the safe injection site, I don't look at the people doing the drug having any effect, any cause or effect of the actual safe injection site itself, because they didn't ask for it. They didn't put it there.
Yeah, I don't know if they're capable of asking for it.
They just said, you know what? There's a new place for me to get high.
Yeah.
But getting high, we need to exactly like you said. I agree 150%. The easy way out, quote unquote. I agree with that for lack of better terms. But I do believe the actual act of doing the drug. And dude, when I'm pissed off and I drink, that's me not addressing what's making me upset. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the same with alcohol. Same with cigarettes. If I have a smoke when I'm stressed, I'm not addressing what's stressing me.
You're just putting a Band-Aid on the problem.
Don't get me wrong. There's sometimes there's been times in my past where I was so stressed or so frustrated or something. Yes, I went and got some coke. Right.
Like
it's like
you really why are you trying to ball on me, fam? No. Like why are you trying to stun on me? It's like when I was stressed, I had a cigarette. Yeah, when I was stressed, I went and did an 8-ball.
No.
Like, why are you stunning on me, fam? Why you gotta stun on me?
No, listen. I would much rather have a cigarette than do a ball. But there's situations I haven't addressed personally even today.
You had trigger.
I had triggers, right?
Situations,
but I also have the opportunity to say
you had a coke trigger today.
Not today.
Oh, you said even today.
No, I said even today.
Today's day and age.
There's things that will happen to me.
I'm like, did I piss you off that much?
That I still need to know how to address those triggers, right?
Yeah.
So every day is a constant. I'm constantly working on my mental health and my well-being, right? Anybody that's not an addict can't. You're not going to understand maybe that phrase, right?
And people who are addicts are in the active stage of being an addict. Like you're an addict, but you're not an active addict. So no, I'm not an addict. Well, I'm not an addict. What I am is somebody who enjoyed doing cocaine to a point that was detrimental to my health. That's okay, but that's an addict. If you enjoy it to its detrimental, but you still enjoy it knowing it's detrimental, you're addicted to it.
Right, whatever. But I wasn't at the point of no return. Is what I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I'm not saying addicts are at the point of no return. There's nobody that's at the point of no return if they're alive. If you're alive, you're never at the point of no return. And if you still have, just like John's addicted to cigarettes, he still has cigarette cravings. He doesn't go out and smoke a cigarette. Once you're an addict, once you're addicted to something, you're always addicted to it. If you still have triggers or things that would, in poorer circumstances, push you to that addiction.
Right.
So you still have triggers for the coke.
I'm working to get rid of those triggers and find different outlets for those.
But but you're always gonna have those triggers. But you just know that there's a different outlet
Right.
For that.
Right.
So that means you are an addict. So
But I think with
please let me finish.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So you are an addict, and because you have to find a different trigger for something that triggered you to something else.
Right.
So you're recovered. Being an addict doesn't mean that you're actively in it. You're not an active addict, but you're still an addict.
Okay,
like for anything, right?
I understand what you're saying. I just think we should find a different term for that. I just don't.
Yeah, and you know what? I think you bring up a good point.
I understand what you're saying.
I think you bring up a very good point. And that is one thing that is never taught in drug education in schools, right? Is that once you become an addict, it's very unlikely that you will never not be an addict.
Exactly.
You know, so the daily struggle, even if you're never using again,
there's always
the daily struggle will always be there.
Right. You're gonna have triggers, you're gonna have moments, you're gonna have this, and you're gonna have to mentally prepare yourself. That's why they have the AA. That's why they have sponsors.
Because they need these support groups.
They need support groups.
Right?
They need people to call, be like, "Yo, this is what's happening. I really feel like going to have a drink. What should I do?" And you talk to your homie. Like, some people need it differently. But if you're addicted to something and you're off of it, you're always going to be an addict.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a trigger. There's always going to be a slight feign or whatever. Just because you're off of it and mentally you're stronger than your addiction.
Yeah.
So you know that, oh, fuck, this makes me want to go do such and such and such. No, fuck that. I'm going to go for a jog. No, fuck that. I'm going to go have a coffee. No, fuck that. I'm going to play some Call of Duty. No, fuck that. I'm going to go write a fucking poem. You know what I'm saying? Like, people.
Yes, it's how you channel that urge.
Exactly.
And you make lemonade out of a lemon.
So let's bring it back to the safe injection sites. And what are some things they can do, or some things they can implement to maybe help people understand what they're getting into? I understand that counseling is a great thing to do there, but what are some things that they can implement there that, you know, not necessarily force on these people coming in, but they can urge strongly?
You know, I think logically, I can't answer that question without actually visiting one and speaking to the people there and seeing exactly what they do. Because I can say like, well, they could do this, and this.
Field trip?
And then I figure, field trip. Because you say do this, and this, and they talk about it, and you go there, and they be like, yo, they already do this, and this. Maybe I want to talk to some people that go there. I want to talk to the people that go there. I want to talk to someone that has actually gone to like more people that have really gone to. I want to talk to someone that goes to it, been to it, and has years of being clean and sober because of safe injection clinics. I want to talk to someone that used to be an addict that works at these safe injection clinics, that talks to the people from a standpoint that they know exactly what they're going through. I want to talk to an addict that doesn't go to safe injection clinics and talk to an addict that does. I want to see all the aspects of this, because this is a very important thing of our society. These aren't going away.
Yeah. Right.
These aren't going away. So in order for me to accept and understand what's fully going on in them, I need to be fully educated in this.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people need to take that step and need to take that initiative, just like you said, right? Though I think people are, especially, and me too, you know, I'm ignorant to what is actually happening there, and
you're just ignorant.
Okay, and what is actually happening, and ignorant to the facts of 100% factual things that are going on there, right? Yes, I can read all the articles I want. Yes, I can read the fact or the studies. You know, I can read the police reports, but that doesn't show an overall. It shows a general guideline. It doesn't give you the 100% full story, right? You need to get into people's minds and understand and have conversation with these people. And, you know, again, back to why this podcast is so important to me is because we have conversations that are very difficult. Yes, I get shit on every fucking episode. From every social media site, I get shit on because...
I'll remember to bring toilet paper for you.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, because we get shit on because we don't address one thing somebody was talking about, or we don't address
one aspect
another angle.
Somebody thought we should have talked about.
And these people shitting on us, they be like, you should talk about this, you should talk about this, Well, when he knew the fucking episode was coming out about this, how about giving us some ideas with three men, speaking of three men in big levs, speaking on some shit that we just have an opinion on.
Right,
and
exactly.
Some quickly garnered facts YouTube or Googled, time up.
Yes.
You didn't study for this test. Shit.
Well, and that's the thing is that, you know, I try and bring as many facts as I can to the table, and unfortunately with this episode, there's not that many facts out there. So this is more of an opinion
police
thing. And the police facts are very skewed.
They're skewed. They're true to a point, but they're inflated and skewed. So they're looking at it's I don't know, man. It's like asking my kid who had this room get so dirty. Mm-hmm. She gonna tell you the truth, but it's gonna be tearing down.
Yeah.
I was looking for something and I found it. Like,
and the unicorn came in. And,
the unicorn and rained on us.
Right. Right. So I think, well, you know, for this conversation to be good, I mean, we have to.
I believe this conversation was awesome.
I'm saying this conversation was fantastic. I think what we need to do is address more of why we believe, or why society or council believe this would be a good idea. And now that they're not going away, we have to decide how we're going to live with these things and deal with the situation it has now caused, right? And not only that, the overall aspect of what's happening with mental health and drug abuse and everything else, right? There's only so many people that can say right now I want to quit drugs and stop right now without any help.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So
and you know what? You bring up government, council, etc., etc.
But what can we do as people?
Well,
as
hold
humans,
on.
as society?
We need to elect better people.
Right.
But
we need better people to elect.
Yeah, that's also true, right? So now here's the thing. This is what it comes down to, right? As a society, be the change in certain places, in certain instances, you need to be the change you want to see.
Right.
Now, the other problem, when you talk about government, when you talk about people in charge, is that they're making decisions for people who will be affected, but they will not be affected, right? None of these people are saying, well, I live in Pump Hill, let's put a safe injection site in Pump Hill.
Right.
They're removing it as far from themselves as possible. You know why?
Because they don't want to near them.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Right? So they are not being the change they want to see. They're
Should
inflicting that change on somebody else.
the safe injection site. I think we should have. Oh man, we should have split this up, and we should have had another discussion on safe injection sites, but on the actual usage and what's going on in there, and talk about that. I think this was a far better addiction episode than the one we actually did. And then I think that we should have split it up. And the second part should have been as far as like safe injection sites and group homes and halfway houses and their positioning and things like that. We could have a whole conversation.
Well,
on
that's what I was thinking. We're gonna do a part two. If we do
yeah.
if we do a field trip down to the Sheldon Schumer and kind of see exactly what's going on, and ask some questions, I think we can do a part two very successfully.
We should do some halfway house.
And I
shit
think
too,
and I think it's very well warranted. I think this is something in society. I feel very deeply about this simply because of my background, right? I don't know how you guys feel, but I think I'm definitely going to do it regardless. And I think we should actually have that conversation, right? Because you come from a background that is very different from mine. That's very different from John's.
But yet we're all similar.
And yet we're very similar, right? So I think we need to address what is our mindset towards it, how we got to where we are, and what these sites actually do and what these places actually do for the people themselves, not what's being said. Let's get our own firsthand accounts and come back and readdress this subject.
Yeah, maybe even do a little video on it and put it up for the listeners to access, right?
Right, because I keep hearing, Will keeps stating, I know how he's grown up. And he says, there's all these things that have affected him positively or negatively that I don't understand, and I'd like to understand that. I won't understand it firsthand, right? But I'll understand it from the stories and the people I speak to, right? And I think that's something for all of us to kind of understand each other better, because the more we understand an individual, the better we can address certain situations, right? And I think in society's case, the better we understand people who are addicts, the better we can help address the mental health and whatever is bothering them to get over these addictions. Without that, I think we're throwing past at a wall, hoping something sticks, right?
Much to the chagrin of the Pastafarians.
Right. Right. I think for that, if we're not going to understand how somebody thinks or why somebody's going towards that.
You're the only type of nigga I know that says chagrin. I don't know no other nigga that says chagrin. I apologize, fam, but I tried to hold that shit in.
116.
116? Yeah. Who the hell says shit? Much to the chagrin.
He went a whole episode last week without saying it.
Oh, yeah.
And then he gets to an hour and 16 minutes in this time. He almost went a whole 3 hours.
Much to the chagrin. I've heard it and almost every episode I couldn't hold it in anymore. The only black man I know, him and not even.
You had to say it when I was in something really serious.
I'm sorry, but he said chagrin.
It's true, he did say chagrin.
Pastafarian wasn't even the funny part of them Corlander head motherfuckers.
All right, let's get
chagrin.
Let's get some closings out of the way. John Vex.
The war on drugs and safe injection sites. Like I stated earlier, safe injection sites are only a band-aid for a massive wound that will not be effective in addressing the problem. Absolutely not. I believe safe injection sites subtly tell junkies that it is okay to shoot up, right? Whereas that should never be the message in society if you want society to function properly. There are certain things that societies past recognized and realized that would be detrimental to the stability and the flourishing of said society. And therefore, these behaviors were outlawed and shamed. right? By no stretch of the imagination is drug use good, productive, or anything that's positive for a society. By no stretch of the imagination, whether it's individually or whether it's by an individual or whether it's by many individuals. That being said, the solution to the problem that people are looking for has nothing to do with setting up centers, with setting up treatment sites. It has nothing to do with any of that. The solution to the problem really and truly lies in restabilizing society to what 6,000 years of evolution has taught us worked. And it's only in the last 40 years that we've gone away because we think we know better than our forefathers, right? So that being said, my whole take on safe injection sites is they're a waste of time and a waste of taxpayer money. And they are an insincere attempt by the government to implement something saying, hey, yeah, we're doing something about it. We're doing something about it. No, don't spend my money on shit that I don't want. End of story.
Will his?
I don't know. There's levels to this shit. Safe injection sites. If you're looking at safe, like I agree with John. If you're looking at safe injection sites as a solution, or you're using them as a solution to a problem, you're doing it wrong. I do believe that's what the government's doing, but at the end of the day, the government's just the level that puts it there. We have humans and individuals and ex-addicts that work in there that aren't trying to solve a problem. They're just trying to, one day at a time, hopefully try to save one life that is a part of the problem. And I think that is a noble thing of the safe injection clinic. So with that, I'd have to say that if one person that would have died in the street went in there, didn't die, and came out and is on the path to a better path, I don't mind my tax dollar going into that. I could have another. I live in the Northeast. Like, I'm used to potholes, so I'm good. There's levels to it, and I do feel it needs to be investigated further. I think when we do a part 2, I want to look at halfway houses and the reasons why people don't want halfway houses in their communities. And I want to look at how halfway houses do not increase crime in communities. There's a lot of bias towards criminals, and a lot of the criminals in the halfway house just come out and want to be better and do better, and not have to live in a dormitory type thing. Like that's totally different. But I do think that this is, like I said, to use it as a solution to a problem is 100% wrong. To use it as part of the gauze in the larger hospital table to end blood. It's a small piece of a very, 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 very big puzzle that, unfortunately, before any of us were born, some of the key pieces, like the corners,
the
were lost.
Were cut, yeah.
They're cut before we were born. They're thrown away before we were born. They don't even have a picture. It's a big jigsaw white puzzle for autistic kids.
Oh my gosh.
Dog, those savants, autistic kids. I've seen
All right,
an
my turn.
autistic kid
All
put
right,
a 3,000 blank puzzle together.
I'm stopping him now.
Backwards, upside down. No pillow.
You okay?
You ever go night night?
You want to go night, nigga?
There you go. 121. You in?
Yeah, I haven't said it for 3 weeks.
Lies.
Not on this one. Here's my take on it. I have a very different outlook on drug use than most people would. However, for illicit intravenous drugs, I do have to say they are killing society. Safe injection sites are a place people go to safely inject illegal drugs so that they do not overdose in the street, and they can have a safe high. Those words put together should truly not be able to make sense in this society, but they do. We have to address the mental health behind this. We have to address counsel's reasoning behind this. We have to address the crime that's surrounding these areas. We also have to address why people are doing this in the first place. We need to understand people on an individual level and not just generalized. We need to understand how people are coming to these situations and being able to get into these situations without support of friends, family, anybody else in their life before making a decision and making snap decisions. I think this was the wrong way to go. But since it's here now, Let's address what needs to be addressed. Let's move forward with this. Let's find all the bandages, using Will's analogy, put them all together.
I like the analogy, by the way.
The Band-Aid to make that bandage, get all the bandages together to make that tourniquet. And let's get society back to where it should be, healthy and thriving. And with that, we out this motherfucker.
Today's episode of the podcast has been brought to you by Lex. For all your stay fresh needs, Lex has you covered. If you're looking for Bape, Supreme, the exclusive 2-6 Dover collection, and those hard to find Jordans or Yeezys, you need to check out Lex. That's Lex on 17th Avenue and Chinook Mall across from Urban Outfitters. Lex on 17th Avenue Southeast and Chinook Mall across from Urban Outfitters. Don't sleep.